The email arrived with a PDF titled Last Will Margaret Carter. I opened it and my chest went cold. My name wasn't on the page. Laura's was. Pause. I was standing in Mom's kitchen. The kettle was still boiling from the tea she'd forgotten on the stove when she passed. My hands were shaking. I read the will again. It named Laura as sole heir to the house at 214 Willow Drive and to the $350,000 in Mom's savings in First State Bank. It was dated March 2, 2024, one day before the funeral. I had been the one who lived with Mom for the last 2 years. I paid the mortgage when her Social Security fell short. I drove her to chemo. I read to her on bad nights. We had a handwritten will in her bedside drawer from 2016 that split the house and the money evenly between Laura and me. I had the original. Everyone knew it. Except apparently the county clerk and the woman who now claimed to be my sister's sole benefactor. Pause. I called Laura immediately. She picked up on the third ring. "Ethan, we need to talk," she said. Her voice was flat. I heard dishes in the background. I handled everything. Mom wanted it this way. She signed the new papers herself. I told her I wanted to see the documents. She said the lawyer took them to be recorded. "It's done. Please, don't make this harder." She hung up before I could say more. The first 48 hours were a blur. Anger felt like ice in my stomach. I wanted to smash something. But I knew rage would ruin my case. I walked to Mom's bedroom and opened the drawer where the old will had always lived. The 2016 copy was gone. The binder that held her medical forms had a line where a sheet had been torn out. My palms went numb. Pause. I started with small things that felt like big moves. I called First State Bank and asked if any withdrawals had been made. The woman on the phone read the ledger. There was a $25,000 transfer to Gregory Hale on March 1 at 9:12 a.m., she said. My throat closed. Gregory Hale wasn't a name I recognized. I drove to the county recorder's office. The deed change was already filed. It had a timestamp, March 3, 2024, 2:17 a.m. The clerk frowned when I asked. "It's unusual to file that late," she said. "But everything looks in order." The notary on the form was a Gregory Hale. I felt like someone had punched me. Laura had arranged a 2 a.m. deed recording after Mom died. How did that even happen? I hired a private investigator, Ana Torres. Her fee was $3,500, but she promised results. She pulled surveillance footage from Willow Gardens hospice and visitor logs. On March 1 at 1:02 a.m., a woman matching Laura's description walked into room 7 alone. 15 minutes later, a man in a gray coat followed. The logs listed him as Greg Hale, notary. Ana tracked Greg down. He had been a notary, but his notary commission had been suspended in 2019 for falsifying documents in another county. He was using a P.O. box and a burner phone. Ana found a Zelle payment of $25,000 from Laura's account to his P.O. box business name, Mobile Signings LLC. When I read that, I felt bile rise in my throat. Pause. I took copies of everything to Bennett & Cho, an estate litigation firm 2 towns over. Their partner, Linda Cho, met me at 9 a.m. on Monday. She did not smile. "You've got a textbook case of undue influence and forgery," she said. "But you need proof that your mother was coerced or incapacitated at the time she signed. If Greg Hale's commission was suspended, if the signature is forged, and if Laura isolated her, we can file to set aside the will." The retainer was $35,000. My bank account screamed when I wired it. It felt like paying to resurrect justice. We subpoenaed hospital records, phone logs, and Greg Hale's documents. Linda hired a handwriting analyst, Dr. Marie Coe, for $2,200. The analysis was devastating. The March 2 signature on the deed and the will had pressure patterns and letter formations inconsistent with Mom's verified signature from 2016. Dr. Coe's report said the differences were statistically significant and consistent with tracing or direct forgery. We also found nurse notes in the hospice file, January 3, 1:15, visitor Laura alone. Patient confused. Signs of restraint noted. One nurse, Javier Morales, agreed to testify that Mom had been drowsy and disoriented that night. He remembered Laura insisting no one enter the room during the 1 o'clock hour. Javier's hands shook as he told me. She said, "This is between me and her," he said. I thought she was helping. I thought she was stealing. With the evidence, we filed a petition to contest the will. We asked the court for a temporary restraining order to prevent the transfer of the house. Laura filed her own emergency motions. For 6 months, our lives were subpoenas, depositions, and sleepless nights. Laura's public face was calm. Behind closed doors, family texts leaked. "He knows," she wrote to our cousin on March 10. "I paid to make this happen. No going back." The cousin turned state's evidence. Texts were printed in the courtroom. Laura's calm cracked. The hearing that changed everything happened on September 12, 2024, at 10 a.m. The courthouse smelled like dust and coffee. The gallery was packed with neighbors who had watched Mom coax tomatoes out of the garden every summer. Linda Cho presented the timeline: the Zelle transfer for $25,000 on March 1, Greg Hale's suspended commission, the 2:17 a.m. deed filing, the handwriting report, the nurse's testimony. She closed with, "Margaret Carter was not in a state to make a legally binding decision that night. That document is a fraud." Pause. Laura sat stone-faced. She slid her thumbs over her phone. When I looked at her, I wanted to scream. Instead, I stayed still. The judge studied the stack of exhibits. He asked Laura one question: "Did you pay Mr. Hale to witness your mother's signature?" Her answer was a whisper. "Yes." He asked, "Were you present when she signed?" She swallowed. "Yes." Then he asked, "Did you tell any medical staff to leave the room?" She could not meet the judge's eyes. "I asked for privacy," she said. The judge granted our petition. He ordered the deed set aside and enjoined Laura from selling any assets. He also issued a referral to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. The courtroom erupted in a low murmur. I felt like I had been holding my breath for 6 months and could finally breathe. I did not celebrate. I sat very still and felt hollow. Pause. The district attorney charged Laura and Gregory Hale with forgery and elder financial abuse. Greg disappeared for a week. He was caught 3 towns over at a motel where he had left a trail of canceled notary appointments. He had been taking similar payoffs in 3 counties, according to the DA. Laura's employer started a background inquiry. Within a month, she lost her job of 7 years. Her bank placed freezes on suspicious transfers. The DA negotiated a plea. Laura pleaded guilty to 1 count of elder financial abuse. She was ordered to pay restitution of $320,000, lost the house, and was sentenced to 18 months of supervised probation plus 200 hours of community service. Greg pleaded guilty to felony forgery and received 24 months, with credit for time served before his bail hearing. We got the house back. The bank returned most of Mom's savings after the court found the March 2 transactions unauthorized. Lawyers' fees and the PI cost us about $47,000 total. The estate lost interest and there were taxes to sort. Mom's cat, Buttons, still slept on the porch steps at 6 a.m. like she always had. I moved back into 214 Willow Drive in November and painted the kitchen the same soft yellow my mother liked. It felt like putting a bandage on a deep cut. People asked why I didn't just let it go. "Why drag your sister through court?" they said. I wanted to say, because if I didn't, someone else would. I wanted the record to show what Laura had done. I wanted the DA to be able to protect other families from Greg Hale and people like him. I wanted to be able to look at Mom's handwriting and know it was hers again. Above all, I wanted to teach a lesson that greed has a cost. Laura occasionally sent texts asking if she could visit Mom's grave. I did not reply. The last message I received from her read, "I made choices. I'm sorry. I can't fix it." I don't know if she meant it. She lost almost everything she had: her job, her reputation, the house she had tried to claim. The court ordered restitution, but much of that will never be paid. The worst punishments were the ones legal paper couldn't measure: the cousins who stopped answering her calls, the neighbors who no longer smiled, the memory of lines in the court transcript that would haunt family gatherings for years. Sometimes late at night, I still think about Mom sitting at the kitchen table in January, knitting by the window, telling me the same story about her wedding day. I think about how someone who loved a person could also betray them. The house is quieter now. Buttons is older. The garden is overrun in places. Justice closed one door, but it didn't fix everything. It did, however, make it clear that some things are not for sale. Pause. So I ask you, if your sibling took what was rightfully yours, would you fight the same way I did? Would you spend your savings on lawyers to expose the truth? Would you press charges and live with the aftermath? I still don't know if the price I paid was worth it. I only know I couldn't let the theft stand.